Hello world, Stephen Michael Zach here. And yes, we're finally back from our December break. Now we did take a long time because as you can see, we have a brand new set, which I'm very excited about. And we are going to be giving a studio tour as soon as everything is in. We are still changing things around here, so look forward to that coming up soon. But today we're talking about the Suikui RH35. This is a 3.5-inch monitor that you can use for gimbal work. Now, one of the little tricks of this thing is that it does record internally, but we'll get to that. This will cost you about $280 at the time of the recording of this video. Now, I did purchase this with my own money, so these are going to be my own brutal and honest opinions as always. So, let's take a look at what comes inside the box. My own brutal and honest opinions as always. This is new to me. Now, first off, you're going to get this case, which is pretty good. It is a medium hard case. You do get a couple of loopy things here, so you can attach a little string to it. It does not come with one, but you do get these very terrible latches that you have to get your thumbnail under, so I'm not really happy with those, and they are very difficult to get open. But once you get this thing open, you're going to get the monitor itself, you're going to get a shoe, and underneath you're going to get a full HDMI. You're going to get a USB to DC jack, so you can power this off your V-mount. Inside, which I didn't put back, is your warranty card, an Allen wrench, and you're going to get a micro SD converter to SD and a cleaning cloth, which you will be using constantly. Now let's take a look at the monitor itself. Now, as you can see, the screen is very, very, very fingerprinty. And now I do think there is a protective screen, a protective thing over this. I'm not sure. It looks like there is. I think there is. But if not, the screen is very glossy. So that is to note. It is made of plastic. It is very lightweight. Now, you do get lovely buttons at the top. You get two function buttons, your record button, your battery indicator here, a play pause, and a fast forward and a rewind. On the side here, you do get your little dial, which depresses, and that controls your menus. And of course, you do get your micro SD, which you can record onto. And again, it is very difficult to get micro SDs back into the slot, but that's just micro SDs in general. And of course, you do get a headphone jack on this side to monitor your recording. And you do get 1/4 20 for mounting. On the back, you do get a Sony NPF battery, which works okay, and a release. You do get a power button, your DC in, you get a USB for firmware updates and for using said USB to DC in cable, and you do get a pass-through, so you do get full HDMI in and out, which is great, and plenty of ventilation. Now let's go ahead and fire up the monitor by pressing the power button, which is in a very bizarre spot. You see we do have some battery life there. It's getting a little bit low, and the screen does take a bit to turn on. Now, one thing you will note is when you turn the screen, some people say they have a hard time with viewing angle. I don't think it's that bad. I think it's pretty okay. And we'll turn on my camera and connect. And this does show you a 59.94 hertz screen at 1080p. So and this is, you do get a little indicator when the battery is running out on back, but there is no battery indicator. So we will make this quick before this powers out. So let's talk about functionality. On top, you do get function 1 and function 2. I have it set to false color. You get a beautiful false color with a nice number bar at the bottom here. And then I have my function 2 on peaking. If I hold that down, I can actually set my peaking, go into peaking. I can turn it on and off. I can go down and go all the way up to 10, which is crazy. I like to leave it on 2. Now, you are stuck only with the color red. You cannot have any other peaking colors. Press it again, and it shuts off. Now, pressing in the side wheel here, you get your video controls. You can control brightness. Now, this does have an odd color temperature control that goes from 93 to... One thing is when the camera shuts off, this tends to freeze. So it does go to 93. Come on. The color temperature does go from 93 to manual. You can set it manually to 56 to 65 to 75. I'll leave it on 75. That's what it came as. But it's kind of weird. You do get control of your backlight, one being the not brightest, 5 being the brightest. And you can control the aspect ratio, which is very cool in this model. You can go from full, and it has all your flavors, 4:3, 16:9, has all the lovely things that you need as a filmmaker. And you can do a custom one, so if you want to do something for TikTok or Instagram, you can set that. I will leave this on full. And then you can also stretch it if you're doing anamorphic. So there you go. Moving down to the system config, I would touch nothing here. One thing you can do is if you go into user 2 or 3, you do get a fan on off. I wouldn't bother with that because you can't hear the fan anyway on this thing. So one thing I will notice, I am getting a battery light. So let me go ahead and shut this off. And let me try to get out of here. The one thing is if the camera goes off, this thing has a tendency to freeze up. So you will have to kind of pull the battery, which is not great. But that is an issue, is that I've had some freezing issues with this. Let's go ahead and pop in a new battery here and continue on. So yes, you can adjust the fan. However, I wouldn't touch it. Next, we move into function setup, and that is just to set up your 2 function buttons. And you can get audio meters, you can get false color, which I like to leave it at. You do get exposure assist, grid, you get guidelines, you get crosshairs, you get grids, you get zooming, you get peaking, zebras, and a histogram and audio meters. So all in all, very cool. Very cool indeed. I will leave this at false color. Now you can go into the playback list here and go through your playback, or you can use the buttons on top. And you just press the side button and go out to exit or delete if you want to delete files. And yes, you can firmware update this. So I'm hoping that they do some firmware updates for this. Let's go back and say check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is a test of the microphone system. All right, we're recording again. Check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, one thing I can hear is I can actually hear the air conditioning through my headphones. This is very, very, very noisy. I have the camera down to 36. I have this on 1, so let's see where we're at. And that is about it. Now you can record on this monitor, and this is going to lead us into the pros and cons section. Let's start off with cons. And first off, this is only 1080p. It's 8-bit. The audio quality that it records is pretty terrible. I had to turn this camera all the way down and turn this all the way down, and still it wasn't great audio quality. So really does not record well at all. The image is not great either. So using this as a recorder as of right now is not great. Now, I did see some other YouTube reviews where they said that when you record gameplay, it's actually fairly decent for recording gameplay, like an old, like your old Nintendo or Nintendo Switch, things like that. But for video, it is not good at all. The monitoring jack is terrible. It is so echoey. There is such a delay that it's just unusable monitor through your camera. Now, moving on with some of the pros and cons, I do have a cheat sheet here. I will say that it's only 30 frames per second, which does not help a filmmaker. Unless you're one of those sadistic YouTubers who make all their videos in 30 frames or 60 frames. That's another video for another time. But 24 would be fantastic to have in here. The screen dims off axis. I don't really have a problem with it. One thing I will show you is when you turn this thing off, it takes 15 seconds to turn off. To some people, that's a long time. Me, I'll just set it down and walk away and do something else and wait for it to power down. It is a recorder as well as a monitor, so it does take some time to turn down. That could be a negative for some people. There really needs to be a third function button on this thing, because I would love to have my zoom, my peaking, and my false color, or something of that nature. To be able to switch between the 3 would be great. I do have zoom turned on my camera, so it's not a huge issue for me, but I would like to have access to maybe my histogram. Now let's talk about the case. The case is just okay. I found that once I took the wires out of the bottom, I couldn't get them back in without having to really squash the lid down on the actual monitor. And these are really, really, really terrible. You have to really get your thumbnails under them. So not really crazy about the case. It does protect it, but the latches leave something to be desired. Now, one thing I did note is there is a huge screen lag. There was on my desk view, as you can see in this video. This has a screen lag, and then the iCan we tested, and the iCan actually had the best non-lagginess of the bunch. So this is very laggy if you're doing fast movements, so just be aware. Again, this thing has no battery indicator until the battery starts to die. Then a very faint little battery appears and a little battery light will flash. A little red square will flash. And again, you'll get an indication up top here too. There is something that lights up in this little spot right there. It lights up red when your battery is about to die. And there's also no info on how much time you have on the SD card, which would be very nice. Now it is micro SD, you're only recording in 1080p, 30 frames, MPEG-4, so there's, on an 8-bit card that is included with this, you're gonna get a considerable amount of footage, being it not very good footage at all, because this thing does not record well. Now let's talk about the pros here. It's small, it's light, it comes with all these accessories. It gives you a massive amount of scopes and customization. You can control the aspect ratio, it has image control, lots of functionality. It's very easy to use out of the box. The SD card has the manual on it, the PDF. But you can just take this right out of the box and use it, and it is 600 nits, so in direct sunlight, it is going to be fairly easy to view. So this is a startup company, and I can tell because they have a one-page website, and their email, which is on the box, is a Hotmail address. So while they are a new company, while they are a startup, I'm very excited to see what they do. Now, I hope they have firmware updates coming for this thing, or they're working on a new model, because this thing is very usable. Like I've said before, my iCan has a pixel missing. It's showing its age. It's starting to die. I really need a replacement for the iCan, and this could be a possible contender if they fix what's wrong with it. Really giving me 24 frames, giving me better monitoring of audio, giving me no lag, better record quality, better sound quality. Even just giving me 24 frames and making this a better recorder would be great. Unfortunately, at the time of this video, I cannot recommend this, just simply for the fact that, yes, it gives you all the scopes and it's packed with all that stuff, but because there's no 24 frames, because the monitoring is bad, because the record quality and the sound quality is bad and only 30 frames per second. Even if this were 8-bit, my GH4 used to be 8-bit 4K, and even when that was in 1080p, it still recorded better than this. You have micro SD, which is hard to get in and out, but it's fine. I don't really have a problem with that. There's just a few things there's just too much that I would want. Hopefully that can be updated by firmware. If not, then I would say pass on this. Also, you are going to be reaching for your cloth constantly because the screen is very fingerprinty and very glossy. But with that said, this is a new product. I did hear that they were working on firmware updates, so stick around. I will do an update on this monitor. I know currently at the time of the recording of this video, you can't even get these. They're currently unavailable, so I did manage to snag one of the last ones. Hopefully they will be back soon when they get their firmware update ready. Stay tuned. As of right now, I wouldn't buy this for like gimbal work or really for anything unless you want to capture some video gameplay. But yeah, stay tuned. We might do an update on this. Hello world, Stephen Michael Zach here, and I want to do this short to update you on the Suikui monitor. I will be returning this. I just feel that there is no amount of firmware that is going to fix what is wrong with this. I really do hope that the company decides to make a new product with some better hardware inside, because the idea behind this really is terrific, and there really are not any 3.5-inch monitors out there anymore now that iCan is not producing theirs. So hopefully they will come back with a better product, but I just don't think they're going to be able to fix the video on this or the audio issues with a firmware update. I think it's more of a hardware problem. They're going to have to do something about the hardware. But it was very nice. I had a huge lag with this with my camera. I don't know if other people are having the same problem. So this will be going back to the store, so I will most likely not be doing an update. But that's it. Those are my thoughts, but I want to know yours. So leave your questions and comments in the notes below. Also, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and don't forget to mash that bell button to be notified when we drop a brand new video. And feel free to use links below as it helps out the channel. I'm Stephen Michael Zach, and it's time to say goodbye to this monitor.